YouTube? Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Man, last night got pretty crazy. So, because when we look at the storm reports here, 9 tornadoes reported. Might have been a big one over here towards the Oklahoma Panhandle here. I think damage was relatively minimal, but 257 wind reports yesterday, including a 100-mile-per-hour gust in Tulsa. Then 5-inch hail. This was reported by Reed Timmer. This was over towards the Texas and Oklahoma line here, towards the panhandles as well. So pretty crazy day. Got a lot of it on stream. We got another one in store for you today as we have yet another enhanced risk in play. There are some storms ongoing right now, including a severe thunderstorm watch, but we're not going to be covering that one. We're going to be covering this afternoon's threat. This also includes a 2% tornado area, but I do see potential for this to actually be upgraded and actually moved a little further to the north here. I'm going to get into my reasoning behind that in a minute. And then also we can't disinclude the Florida Peninsula here towards Tampa, where we also have potential for a tornado threat. These storms are expected to be ongoing into the evening hours, so all hazards are going to be possible, but I do see the potential for the wind and hail threat to take over as we get further and further into the night. So here's our 30% wind threat and our 30% hail threat with the hatched risk over here towards southern Mississippi and parts of Louisiana and Texas as well. Or not Texas, but Arkansas. Good grief. I'm so used to saying Texas, I've kind of forgotten what it's like not to say it, if that makes any sense. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the models here so we know what we're dealing with. So here's our catalyst right here. It's this really a subtle trough right here. It's going to make forcing kind of limited. It does kind of tighten up a little bit as we get towards the evening, but not by much. It's not a super tight gradient, so we could see even the potential for a few prefrontal cells here, but you can see this little small little circle here on the isobars. That's going to be our flash point, and we're going to just see things kind of develop from there. And as time goes on, of course, the threat will transition off to the east a bit. This storm does look like it has the potential to have a southeastward moving component. I don't know exactly what we will see from the northern end of this system. So Atlanta, maybe towards tomorrow morning, we could see some showers and storms too. But that's what we're looking at from the upper levels. We look at the mid levels and the low levels. That's where things get a little bit more impressive. As a whole, I really think our initiation point is going to be just after sunset here, or right at it. This is our shortwave setup. And over here towards northern Mississippi, towards central Mississippi, that's where my concerns lie for the tornado threat. And I do think that should be upgraded based off of the parameters I see here. And then when we match it up with some of the other stuff that we're going to be looking at in a minute here, you'll see why. But this shortwave starts to really develop here. We get up to about 50 knots. And this is about in the mid levels, about maybe 10 to 20,000 feet above our heads. But these winds are really starting to kick up, and it maintains that kind of energy heading into the evening and even into the overnight hours. So like I said, plenty of reasons for these storms to keep going, plenty of parameters for them to go. And it even persists into tomorrow morning here. Again, I'm not sure what this will entail for Atlanta, but areas to the south you might want to look out because you are under a slight risk for tomorrow. Do I see it being upgraded? As of right now, no, but that's going to be another video for another time. I may make one this afternoon for that one. But as a whole, though, it looks like we could have some big-time problems today over here towards the Dixie Alley region and towards the Gulf Coast. But anyway, looking at the low-level jet here, starts to strengthen a little bit early, so that is a tiny bit concerning. By the time we get to about 7, 8 o'clock Central Time, that's when we start to see those storms begin to fire. And it's over here in this sector. You can see where the winds are kind of veering this way. When we look at the Gulf moisture, we'll pay attention to those barbs very closely that you see here, these little barbs here. We have one that is moving in this direction here. I don't know why that was on my screen, but we have one that was moving in this direction here. So we're going to remember that. We're going to keep that in mind. And then as we go on here, we're going to probably look at the moisture moving in this direction here. If we see that, we could have some real problems. But that being said, here, as I'm trying to get my computer to work, low-level jet deepens, especially towards the southern half of Georgia and Alabama here, could be where we really could see some problems heading into tomorrow. Like I said, I think it's going to be more so an early morning threat. By the middle of the day, things should clear up without too much issue. But let's go ahead and actually take a look at those dew points now. Let's get to it here. So here we are looking at the dew points of the wind barbs. And it's going to be a little harder to see because of the colors, but watch what happens as we get towards 8 o'clock. Remember what I was talking about? I'm going to draw the barb out for you again. Notice how these barbs are moving in this direction here, and we had those another set of barbs moving in this direction here. That's going to create our wind shear, and that makes vorticity or spin. And it's in this section here where I'm concerned about the tornado threat. Right now it's at a 2%. I do see good potential and good reasoning for it to be upgraded here. So I'm going to go maybe about 1 more hour forward here. And I'm probably going to click the spot right here, and we'll probably see it torr sounding. In fact, that's a pretty impressive audiograph. In fact, the significant tornado parameter soundings are about maxed out here. Not much contamination on the models here, but solid kinematics. Better than what I've seen in other recent events. Not to mention very high CAPE. We're over 3,000 joules per kilogram. You really would only need some development at about 1,500. There's not too much of a capping inversion to inhibit this. And then also the potential for damaging winds are pretty high at 1446 on D CAPE. You want to, like I've said before in many other videos, you want about 1,000 joules per kilogram with that. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. But I've been seeing some pretty impressive soundings coming from the HRRR, which has been a very reliable model this year as far as severe weather is concerned. Even coming down to sometimes the format of the storms and what kind of convective mode that we would end up seeing. So here's our moist sector as we roll through here. And really, even with these storms going through these areas, the moist sector doesn't go away. So even once the showers and storms are done, still going to be pretty humid. So if you're having to work outside like yours truly would be tomorrow, definitely make sure that you are drinking plenty of water. And staying hydrated if you have to be outside. If you can, I would actually try to avoid it. That being said, though, let's go ahead and actually start to take a look at some parameters here. So here is a very key parameter here, and that's the CAPE, convective available potential energy. And what we're seeing here is some very rich CAPE values, especially towards southern and central Mississippi here. I think Mississippi is going to be a big flashpoint tonight. But when we look at parameters here, look at that. PDS tornado, which is particularly dangerous situation here. Again, a very similar hodograph here, like I saw on the last sounding, and then look at the surface CAPE at 5,000 joules per kilogram. My concern is that with the storm mode here, if there's any discrete supercells that develop, they can take advantage of this environment, and we could see some big-time tornadoes possibly. Not guaranteeing that that's going to happen, but the potential is definitely there. But as time goes on here, the CAPE does kind of drop off, but not by much. And then as we go into tomorrow, we do see that little extra wave of CAPE come in, especially towards South Georgia, before starting to dissipate by mid-afternoon here. So we still look like we have plenty of storms left to develop, and then maybe tomorrow maybe the day after tomorrow, we may even see some storms. So that's one thing to keep an extra close eye on here. So I'm going to do one other thing before we call this a video here. And that's go ahead and take a look at the reflectivity here. But I'm doing it with a twist today. What I'm looking for here are these little dark streaks right here. These are updraft velocities. This can show where there's significant severe weather potential, even tornadoes sometimes, or tornado potential sometimes, depending on parameters. And since we already know them, it shouldn't take much for us to figure out what's going on here. So this is towards 23Z, OOZ, and here's the storm starting to fire. Already we're starting to see a couple of updraft velocity streaks here. And this is greater than 75 meters squared per second squared. So got plenty ongoing there. And then we continue to see an increase. We see several updraft velocity streaks here. And these persist as we get into the overnight here. So this is an overnight threat that we have to keep an extra close eye on. By about 04Z, which would be about after midnight, I would say, this starts to fall off just a little bit, thankfully. And then mercifully by tomorrow, we're starting to see some of this weather clear out until a little bit later in the afternoon towards South Georgia, where we might have some problems there. With this, and one other thing I'm going to look at here also, because I have to figure this out whether or not I'm going to work tomorrow, is based off what I'm seeing here, there's a lot of coverage right now, so maybe I could even live stream this extra late. I'll go as long as I can, but we'll cross that bridge whenever we get there. But that's pretty much all I got for this video. If you enjoyed it and if you found it useful, you know what to do. Make sure you're hitting that like button, smashing that subscribe button, and face kicking that share button too. If you have any questions or any thoughts, let me know in the comment section below. But this has been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I hope to see you guys later this afternoon in the live stream. Till then, take care and have a nice day.